Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review for version 15.0. And we are looking today at various musical things, I think. Is that the only thing we're looking at? We're not looking at audio and
Yeah,
so on.
audio is just a Wolfram function, repository function.
Okay. All right. So we looked at a bunch of the stuff before. Where had we got to?
So we had looked at basic primitives, music note, music rest, music chord, pitch, duration, key signature, and time signature. There were some questions that you
By the
brought
way,
up.
this is very ugly. Can we please redesign this?
Yes, there is a ticket open. I'm waiting on a response from Billy.
Okay. I mean, I feel like the purple is really ugly.
Yeah. That is, yes. No argument there. The color scheme is just inherited from SoundNote and it doesn't quite fit.
Well, also, we should fix sound note.
Yes,
What did back in the days when, 1000 AD and things, where people were first using this notation, do we know what it looked like then?
you mean SoundNote or just in
No, no,
general?
no. This kind of notation before music, people have been using this kind of notation to indicate the pitches of notes forever. What is it?
I
What does
am
it typically look like, right? But before you have an actual stave and so on, right?
I think symbolic representation, like typographical representation, are kind of quite old, dating to medieval times, and I think
Yes,
those would
that's right.
favor.
They're around the
Right,
1000
there were
AD.
Yeah,
squares and diamonds
yeah.
in
Yes.
medieval music.
Um,
But that is conceptually similar to a typographical square.
I understand. I understand. But I'm just saying, um, if we are looking at, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a bunch of things here.
Yeah, if you look at this
Where,
piano roll representation, a common use case is DAWs, so recording software that displays MIDI. And they kind of
I
look
see.
like this. And music plot, it gives you a bit of a nicer version of what is displayed in that GUI.
Okay, so I'm seeing just a typical collection of random images here.
Yeah, these are called piano roll. Yeah, correct.
Fine. They're mostly
And
pretty
this is
ugly,
more or less what music plot wants to do.
right? It's just purple. It's just not a winning color. I mean,
Yes, yes,
a lot
yes.
of the choices
No,
here are pretty bad as well. But
no
black and white
argument.
maybe is a better choice. And maybe what we want to do is to put, maybe it will look visually better if there's some very light gray kind of
Yeah, so it's a
horizontal
panel.
lines,
Yep,
right, across
yep.
that makes it look more like those are, a little bit more like a musical stave or whatever.
Yeah, and some ideas of where measures are and this kind of thing, which
Well,
is this
if we
image
have
is.
that, yeah, right. I
Yeah.
mean, is it? Do we want to see if somebody from design could join this meeting? We could just try and solve this right now.
Um, Maybe let's get the rest of this stuff done
Okay, all right.
first,
But so
if you don't
maybe
mind.
Tracy could track
But
that
yeah,
down.
so in any
Okay, all
case,
right,
Billy is on several Jira tickets for this, and hopefully he'll
okay,
get back to me soon.
all right. So music chord. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find this
Let's see.
page. No,
We're
not arrived
unlucky.
yet. Okay. Give me. Do you have examples here?
Yes, I can also maybe send you the notebooks
Yeah,
if
please
that
just
would
do that.
make it
Yes,
easier.
please do that.
Let me
Okay. What? I mean, if I do music chord 5/7.
give me a sec. Oh, those are interpreted as intervals? No, as pitches, sorry.
Yeah, I think
Um,
those are fine. I mean, the right, the MIDI pitches.
yes.
Okay. And how would I play this, by the way?
You put it in the music score object, and that is the one that has a playable GUI. I was adding in the main music chord in the latest prototype build, you should be able to click on the little icon and it should make a sound.
Okay, that's
But
good.
I'm
By the
not
way,
sure if,
this has got an error here. See that? Undo is erroring out. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about how, emit sound, for example. I don't see any reason why emit sound shouldn't be able to take one of these things as an argument.
I don't disagree. That sounds good to me.
Okay. And what else? I mean, if I say audio of this, presumably it will
That should work
synthesize.
too. Yeah.
Okay. So if I say audio of this music chord,
I'm not sure if it is activated now, but we
okay,
do
but it
have the
should
same
work. Okay.
functionality for a sound.
And what
And it
if I
is,
say sound of music chord?
yes, that should work too. That has, yeah, it is effectively transforming it into MIDI. Rebecca, there is no objection to that, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Let's just make all these work. I mean,
Yeah. So those have been on the plan. I'm sending the archive of the notebooks to Tracy.
oh, you can send it to me. Just
Okay,
send.
sounds good. I will email
Oh,
them to
unless
you.
Tracy wants to unfurl them in the appropriate
Yeah, and put
directory.
it in the
Yeah. Could you do that? That'd
Dropbox
be great.
directory. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay.
So there were one
yeah.
thing that you were asking last time that you were skeptical of was for music note, we have ways to represent ties with other notes. And the question was, you didn't, and we represent that with tied after, and tied before properties of the note or the chord.
Right.
You weren't particularly happy with those. We couldn't quite find any convincing
Explain to me the
alternative.
musical
Yes. If
significance of
you
this.
scroll down in the question section,
Okay.
I tried to lay that out a little bit at least, in the ties section. So it is mostly a typographical artifact. And you could argue, let's just have a longer note duration. But we do divide our melodies into measures. So a note that is in measure 1, if it is tied to measure 2, we cannot just elongate that note. We need some meta information that tells me the last note of measure 1 is tied to the first note of measure 2. And that is the first example in that screenshot. And then Rebecca pointed out.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So what this means is this is what is that? That's
a
a
whole note.
semi-brief. Yeah.
Yeah. That is 4/4 long. And
Right.
it is
And that one
tied
is
to
2/4 long.
correct. So you could argue this is a single 6/4 note.
Okay,
The
but that's
problem is
what
that,
this means. This
yes,
means okay.
correct. The problem is that we do have these airtight compartments that don't talk
No,
to
I
each
got it. I
other.
got it. I understand
Yeah.
the point. So
Okay.
typographically, this note lives in this measure, but it is still being played over in this measure.
Correct.
And it isn't replayed. That's just a continuation of that note across the board, across the boundary.
That is
All right.
correct.
What's an analogy to this? I mean, do we have analogies in typesetting?
Things that
I mean,
span multiple containers.
yes. Well, I'll tell you what we have. We have in grid, we have A, B, C span from left.
Yes. Which is,
I mean, I'm
it's
not a
not
big
quite the
fan of
same
this.
thing, right? Because that
Yeah.
is still within the same container.
Well, no, it isn't.
It's
It isn't. It isn't. It broke containers because this would normally be if I said here frame arrow all. Okay. Okay, it'll look like this. But normally that C
yeah.
would be in the left
Yeah.
container. So I mean,
But you see
this
that is only typographically doing that. The structure of the input form of that is still a 2x2 matrix.
well, and isn't the structure of the input form here also I mean, it's still if you converted it to a MIDI, for example, then
yeah, it would be a single note, yeah.
right. So what you're doing right now is you have a note. If I understand correctly, I could say music note of C And then what do I say? Tied before or something? What
Tied
do I do?
before and or tied after. Yeah.
Okay, so
Tied before goes to true, or the association really of tied before goes to true.
but what I want to say, this C will be tied after with
Oh,
something
then
else, right?
yes. Yeah, then
Right?
yeah, that
Tied
goes to
after
Boolean.
true.
Correct.
Okay, so let's put this, and then I would have another note, another C,
Yep.
which better agree, because I mean if they're hanging tentacles where I have a C here and a
Yes, that
D
would be
here,
problematic.
right? So
In that
this
case,
is that's
that
an
is the
error.
unfortunate.
Okay, so hold on. What do I do here? So I say sound.
You
How do I
put
put
it
what?
in a list and in a music measure.
No, but they're two different music measures here. That's the whole point. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, sorry.
Right. So really what I want
Um,
to do is say that's a music measure.
that's a music voice, right? Oh, okay. Yes, this will be okay.
Okay, and then the whole thing in what? How do I make the whole thing a single? How do I?
Then music score of a list of that. And again, we still will have shortcuts to avoid this kind of redundancy of lists. And this is probably the prototype being outdated, unfortunately.
Which?
The prototype being outdated. I don't see an error with these
Okay,
inputs.
but so if you do this and then you say sound of this, for example, I will see a single
Yeah,
bar.
correct.
Okay, but this is a very ugly thing that you've got one note here and then it's going
Yes,
to continue into the next measure, but it knows,
yes.
I
It
mean,
is effectively metadata about the node rather
to
than the
me,
node
this
itself.
is a total mess, right? Because this thing, if its tentacles are hanging out, right, the note in the first measure,
Yep,
it's got this, you know, it's got this, I don't know, tentacle hanging out, which has
yep,
got to touch a tentacle in the next measure,
correct,
right? If it doesn't, for
correct.
example, if another note intercedes before it gets to, well, it you
Well, that
know,
is where the validation of the voice should
no,
either
I understand
message
it
and
may
fix.
validate, but most of the things, okay, general rule of design, it should be the case that the design is such that most things you can type in that are syntactically compatible with the design work. It shouldn't be the case. You have a design where you have to very carefully arrange things so that it's meaningful. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I
So
wonder if
And
it
one
would
this
be
way,
is,
better to hide these properties that the user can't set to them, and they're only set internally when notes are stuffed into or partitioned into measures, and then they have that metadata,
that's what
but
I
they can't
think.
actually be
That's
set by
that's
the
what I think.
user.
Yes. I think a better thing would be to have that C in that first measure, just extend it, be too long for the
yeah,
measure, and then,
that
when
sounds
it's
completely
rendered and so.
reasonable. Yeah.
Now the question is, if you what happens? So is there a way of saying I only want the second measure? So let's imagine that
Yes.
we've got okay, and then what happens? Then what do you have in that
Then
second measure? Go ahead. What?
you have a C that will know that it was tied to something, but now in its
Okay, so I've got a
self-standing
suggestion
measure.
about that. I've got
Yeah,
a suggestion because that note would not be played in that measure. That note continues into that measure, but nobody presses the piano key in
that is
that measure,
correct. But
right?
if you just extracted, if you took the recording of that and you extracted the recording of just that measure, you would hear a C.
No, but you wouldn't hear the
You
attack,
wouldn't hear
right?
the attack, but you would hear a C, assuming it is
Right. But you would
an
hear,
instrument
okay,
that
so I've got a
sustains.
suggestion. Why don't we decorate for a trailing C, okay, for something, a
Mhm.
trailing note that isn't the attack version of the note? Do you know what I'm saying? That
Yep.
we have a notation that is essentially something like music note, I don't know, this isn't quite right, but C trailing or some other thing like that. See what I'm saying? Because it really
Yeah.
isn't a C. It's not the C that you thought it was with
It's
its
not an
full
event.
attack,
Yeah.
right? Well, it is an event in the sense that it is a piece of sound that is there, but it is the piece of sound, if I were to make uh if I would say audio of sound note of C, for example, for 2 seconds, right? And
Yeah,
then
and
I
then audio
say
trim that.
spectrogram. No, but and then I look at the spectrogram here. Okay, it's a pretty messy spectrogram. But at the 1 second
Yep.
point, the spectrogram looks completely different than it does at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're proposing effectively, so this would be the same as having a music note C tied before goes to true.
Yes, but I'm
They
suggesting
represent the
that
same thing, yeah.
yeah, they represent the same thing. But what I'm suggesting is that there's a C trailing or some other notation that literally, if you play that thing, it will make the spectrogram, which has had its front chopped off. See what I'm saying?
I
So you
see.
could play this, you could play C trailing, and it would be, the audio trim of that audio of the sound note without the attack.
I see.
I think this is a decent suggestion. The only question is what to call this thing. I think this solves the problem because this means that we don't, we have a stateless thing more or less that is in the second measure. There's something there. Otherwise, what the hell are we putting there? And what happens
Yeah,
when
I
you try
mean,
and play that thing?
having the, just talking about the symbolic representation rather than what it sounds like, right? This would be completely equivalent to the music note C tied before goes to true, right? It's just a representation of a C note that
Yes.
started before.
Yes, that's right. But
Um,
it doesn't have this. It doesn't have this ridiculous thing. I mean, you could have a whole collection of trailing notes, just disembodied. They didn't have anything before. They're just disembodied trailing notes. Now, if you say make me a music score with music notation, it would look kind of weird, or maybe it doesn't even work, or maybe
yeah,
it
I
gives an
think it
error
would
message.
fail unless there is something that is not trailing.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. But my point is this:
yeah,
other
no, I get it.
functions, like the audio functions, will work just fine. They'll just be a little weird, and
Yeah,
that's good. You know, it's you get
okay.
what you get. Okay, what are we going
And
to call this thing? Yeah,
would you mind whatever we end up calling it if we kept the internal representation with it tied before and tied after? Or would you want the internal representation
I'm
to
not
be
thrilled by having that internal representation because I worry that you get inconsistencies, right? As soon as you have that notation and you say part 7 of something, that's a part that is not disembodiable. See what I'm saying? Because these parts
um
have these connections, right?
yeah, but like the fact that it is uh that has a tied before, right? We could, whenever we disembody it, we could retransform it to the C trailing
Yeah, well,
representation.
that's right. But that's why I'm
Okay,
saying just make that the representation. And that way
okay,
you don't have to worry about disembodiment, so to speak.
sure.
But is that the right name? I mean, I'm sure there's a name in music for
Um,
this.
no, I don't think that is the right name. Rebecca, do you have any suggestion?
I don't really know a name besides Tide.
Yeah, I feel like calling it anything that is unrelated to ties will end up being confusing.
Um, I'm just asking LM whether it
Yeah.
knows a name for this. Uh, a continuation.
As I said, moving away from tie is kind of
Well, then why don't we call it C tie continuation?
sure.
I mean, this is an obscure concept, but the fact that we have it and it isn't just completely broken seems very useful to me.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
now, is this the right thing to put it in the note name, or is it better to somehow annotate it? What?
I think the annotation like we had for tied before and tied after is the better way.
No, but that's not the right thing. It's a different note. See what I'm saying? Look at the audio. It's a different note.
Yeah. I get it. And the fact that that those properties are different make it a different note.
I mean, for
Uh,
example, a tie continuation has a length. It has a duration.
yeah.
You can ask its duration, and it's going to tell you.
Yeah, the same is true for the type before, right? Because
Well,
that note also has a duration.
no, it doesn't, because the duration it has, well, maybe it does. I don't know.
It
If there's
does.
a 6 beat thingy, the that then gets broken into a 4 plus 2, you're saying that that's a total mess. It's a total mess to have this. You do not want something called tied before. You just don't want that. You just want something which is, I mean, okay. So the question is it important to have the initial note know that it has a tie coming after it? If it was disembodied, does it need to know that it has a tie coming after it? It probably does.
I think so, just because that effectively gets played like a longer note.
No, but it doesn't. It doesn't. If you chopped out just that first measure, right?
Oh,
Even
you're
if
talking
it,
about in the disembodied case, yes. In that case, no, it doesn't matter. Unless you want to reconnect that with some other second measure.
let me think.
Which might or might not work depending if the first note of the second measure is the
Okay, look. What other things do we have in this association? Because I think this is
pitch,
very.
duration
What's that?
are the main pitch and duration are the main ones. Then there's
I do
metadata
not
like
like
sound
tied
volume.
after, tied before being true. I think a better thing would be, is it a standalone note or is it a look, here's a
So
possibility.
there is, and then I
Something like
have one
note
proposal.
type, and then it's either a standalone note
Or
or
a
it
tied
is,
note.
or it is, or it is, um, I'm going to ask another question in a second. Can you tie a note across three measures?
Yes.
Then what the hell is the central one called?
Well, that's why Rebecca introduced before and after, because
No, it's not a
there's
good idea.
yeah,
What is the
no.
middle one?
I'm just explaining what was the thinking behind it.
Okay, but what does the middle one? What does the middle one have set? It does have both of
Both
them
are
set
true.
to true? Oh
Correct.
gosh. That's
So
horrifying.
one thing that Sean proposed in chat is introducing a tie head that would work well for two notes in the same measure. And then if it's between measure, maybe it would be the last note on the first one would be tied
No,
of music note
no,
and
no,
tied
you're
of.
not getting it. You're not getting it. Again, do not set things up that cannot be made standalone. See what I'm saying? Any one of
But
these
that would
things that
be
says it's
there's
a tentacle hanging out. Look, the whole point is there is an audio you could. Okay, so one of the tricky things. Let's say this is 3 things long. Okay.
Yeah.
3 seconds long. Then what we're saying is that there's the first second, there's this, between 1 and 2, and between 2 and 3. Right? Those are all
Yeah.
sections of a tied note.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
I mean, there's a certain argument. Knowing which part. Okay, one of the things that's tricky is you don't want to reuse a part.
Doesn't this come up only in a score?
This comes up in whatever holds multiple measures. Yes.
Okay. What else do we have in multiple measures?
Voice holds multiple measures, right?
Correct.
So it's a property of the container in a way.
No, it's really not. I mean, the container has things in lists, right? It has measures in lists.
Yes.
And the issue is that this is breaking across, it is spanning, a piece of measure 1 into measure 2, possibly spanning into measure 3.
Right.
Let me think about this for a second.
So one first thing that I wanted to point out, if you have a voice and you want to extract the note list, there's no reason for us to keep that division, right? We could just have a flat list with all the ties bunched together in a single note. So
What do you
that
mean?
would be.
What do you mean?
right? So let's say you have a C that is tied from the first to the second one. When we ask for the note list of that voice, it's just a flat list of notes, and the duration of that C is the sum of the durations of the two
Yeah,
tied
I get
notes.
it. I get it. But the problem is you've got to have these things magically combine, right? Because
Yeah,
in the original representation, you've got something in measure one. Okay, so I guess the proposal is if it is tied from measure one through measure two to measure three, for example, okay, that in the
yeah.
original representation at the voice level, there is only data in measure one. But it's not going to work because if you say part
No, the
two of
data
that,
needs to be everywhere. Yeah.
okay, but the problem is these things have got to magically combine with each other.
Yes.
And that's
Uh,
very bad. Very
well,
bad. Nothing does that.
that's on the constructor of voice rather than the user.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, whenever you have something set up where, you know, you have to very carefully arrange it so that it can combine, it's a
Mhm.
bad design. So I'm saying if it's not an
No, no,
orthogonal
I
design,
get it.
right? So, okay. I mean, let me think about this for a second. The issue is that we have essentially a positional notation for what times notes are started at. It's positional in the sense that you're giving them in lists and measures and this and that, the other,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep. The
And
measure is sequential. So yes,
yes, but the problem is it has a boundary.
it does.
Okay. And at what point, let's say that we had this tied before whatever thing, which I
Yeah.
don't like. At what point will something check that they actually match?
Whenever they are checked into a voice or a score.
So voice evaluates.
Yeah, everything here evaluates. Yes.
Okay. So it will say incompatible ties.
Or it will make it, so
No, no,
yes,
no, 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 no. That's not an answer. If you've got a C in one measure that ties that tries to tie after it, and a D in the next measure is the
yeah,
only
that would
tied
be
thing,
issue.
then it's
That
an
would issue
error.
a message. Yes.
Right. Then it has to be an error.
Yeah.
But if you extract that second measure, it looks the same way. It has a D in it with no precursor, tied D. You know what I'm saying? It looks like
Yeah.
that, even though all we did was syntactically extract that measure. Well, which suggests to me that it can't even produce a warning because that's a valid thing to do, to extract that. And I guess what it can do is it can play the tied after note in the same way or tied before. I don't even know which order these are in. Okay. Um, what order is this in? Tied after means there is me
There's a
it
tie
we
following.
right. I admit your design is not obviously any worse than anything
Yeah, I
I
feel
can
like
come
it
up
is
with.
equivalent to all the other ones. It just looks a bit different, but in terms of symbolic representation,
I
if we need
hate
some
the true or
breadcrumb,
false. I hate
I
it
know.
being true or false. So it would be better if it was note type or something, or give me another sense, give me another thing that is a category where something is either, note type, standalone, tied before, tied after.
We could chuck it into the style option. Rebecca, what do you think about that?
I suppose if it's only going to be used internally.
No, no, but
Yeah,
it's not only going to be used internally. It's not.
yeah, but it's fine. It's this.
It's
I
not.
don't think
It
that
can't be.
limitation is necessary.
What would be wrong with having a note type, standalone, tied before, tied after?
I'm thinking.
I mean, we don't have to give it. If it's note type to standalone, we just don't give it.
Yeah, of course. Just we don't want to bloat the input file more than it is already.
You
And
need
we
a
can
third
canonize that.
category tied before and after.
Yeah.
Well, then that's good. Then that's nice that you're not trying to do that with okay, yes. Okay, tied before means that there is something tied. Is there a better way to say it than tied before?
I feel like not that it fits with like usual music lingo.
There's probably a better word than standalone. I'm sure there's some term, Italian term for that.
But then it doesn't need to exist, right? The node type could be either automatic or any of the tied ones, right? We don't need to name that case.
Well, we should
Or it
name
could just
that
be a
case.
tie type.
Okay, yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Nah,
Again,
I
I
don't think
am
so.
not against.
After.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's too bad to put this into this style property of music note rather than.
Wait. No, I don't agree because it's a very structural thing. It's a very important piece of a note. Whether a note goes on for 6 measures is an important thing to know. 6 beats or whatever is an important thing to know.
Yeah, style
That's
isn't the
true.
right place for it because
Okay.
that could be also like, is it a mordant note? Is it a grace note? That's
Yeah, okay. I am
what I
convinced.
would think of from style.
Okay, so this is my proposal, that it's part of pitch duration note type, and we just elide it
Okay.
if it's note type to standalone.
That sounds good. I
So this is
don't have
compatible with what
objections to
you
that.
have.
Yes.
But I think it's also important if you get a note that is a pure tied before note and it's not part of a music voice, and you just remove that, extract that music measure, and you do the audio for it, you've got to do this crazy thing of taking the audio, form and chopping it.
That will be a non-trivial thing to do, but I think, and it will work for the audio playback, but I don't think we can make it work for the sound playback. I'll have to investigate.
Okay.
But yes, I think this is completely compatible with what we currently have. Rebecca?
Well, then, okay, here's the thing. Maybe if you're going to give an error condition, rather than just not playing the note, it should warble in some way to make it clear that it's an error.
I see. Like the pink boxing of sound.
Yeah, pink boxing of sound. We make a warbling sound. You can design the warbling sound.
Excellent. Rebecca, any concern with this design? It seems like it is effectively equivalent in terms of functionality to what we currently have.
Right, it seems fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you guys at least understand why I'm reacting so strongly to things that are
Yes.
sort of tentacles that have to hang out and you don't know whether it's only if you have a friendly octopus on the other end that it works?
Yeah, and the music score and the music score and the music voice are the friendly octopus, but they are not always available, as you pointed out.
Right.
No,
Okay.
I get it.
Okay. All right. I think we have a solution there. All right, let's keep going. So by the way, there was a question about music scales and entities. Did we not agree
I am in
last time?
contact.
Yeah.
I am in contact with Alan. He is aware of what we would like to add.
Okay, fine.
And it sounds like they will just happen. They will map effectively onto what music scale is in terms of names and properties.
Okay, good. Right, but music scale then. What can I put into music scale? Can I put
C
in
major.
names?
I think that should work. Maybe C pentatonic. I'll have to. Rebecca, is this another older prototype?
It might be a major pentatonic.
Okay, I see.
So they're named kind of strangely.
Yeah, but that's a good reason to do this with entities. Right, because entities have all kinds of natural language headache, stuff, and you know what I'm saying?
That's fair, yeah.
By the way, the fact that this has this like boop, boop,
Yeah, I meant to ask it what is going on with that kind of summary box that has
right.
only
I mean,
one.
it's got a center. It's got a center.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
figure that should be a general feature of these summary boxes, I think.
Yeah, they usually work. As I said, if there is only one item, I couldn't quite figure out how to align it, but I'll investigate with
No,
detail.
but why doesn't this happen by default? If there's only one item, it centers.
I mean, that sounds reasonable to me.
Mhm.
I didn't have any
I
objections,
think we
but
didn't think of this case because we didn't
okay,
know that there were one item lists there.
that's fair. I'll see with detail if we can get this feature for this release.
Okay. Did we talk about music measurement? Well, let's make sure we covered your questions first.
I
Um,
think so. If you scroll down to questions, I think that
oh boy, I'm already late for something else.
I think the
Sorry.
other ones were mainly namely name related, and we
Okay.
solved
All right.
those last time. The other we
I'm a little worried about the fact that music measure and music measurements and music transform are really quite confusing.
music. So
You see
this
what?
just falls into the same batch of things like image measurements,
I
audio
know that. I know
measurements,
that, except they
and
don't
I'm
have
not
an
sure
image
we
measure,
have.
do they? It's
They
not like we,
don't.
right. So we
Do
have
we
the
have
music.
any analyze-based functions that we could potentially use as a naming scheme?
I think analyze just sets it up for too much.
I agree.
I think, look,
Um,
I only just noticed, and I bet you hadn't even noticed the clash between music measure and music
uh, we
measurements.
we did notice that, but I we couldn't find a
All right,
convincing
okay.
alternative.
All right, but then I think probably music transformation.
I think
The
music
problem is with
transform
music,
was what you liked better
I think
last
so,
time.
because music transformation just sounds like a noun.
Yeah, yeah. And as I said, we already discussed that last time, and the conclusion was music transform is the correct one. I'm sorry, no, I didn't update that part of this notebook. But yeah, the naming questions were already resolved.
Okay. This obviously needs some. I mean, for example, if we're going to do this, what I'm saying is just give a texture of gray horizontal lines, and I think it will
Yeah,
make
yeah,
this
yeah.
look a lot better.
I've added grid lines, and there's an additional different text preset on the left axis that just tells you a few key pitches, like where the C's are or where the G's are and that kind of thing.
Well, I think this is okay if it's made. What do you think? I mean, if we make
Yeah, no,
this
I think that is one of the
kind of
possible
nice way to do it,
visualizations. Yeah,
right?
I agree.
But I mean, I think it could be made a little bit lighter and so on, so it isn't the dominant thing in the whole
Yeah,
picture.
I will add a ticket for
I
Billy for
also,
this as
okay,
well.
a very trivial point, but why not flip
Yeah.
it around? Why not flip it around? So like, here's the piano, and the person is
Ah,
sitting to the
good
left.
question. I
I
am
think it's
I
wrong.
didn't even think about it because this is what I've been used to with DAWs and these piano roll visualizations. Um,
Really? Well, okay, but I
yes.
don't think the.
Well, okay, no, there is a good argument, right? The frequency increases going up,
Oh,
and
that's why.
this is
That's
where
why.
the
Never
yeah.
mind. That's why.
Sorry, it
That's
took
why.
me a
We have
little
no
seconds to
choice.
figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Okay.
But yeah, it looks much better. It has the usual plot colors rather than this. I'm not sure if you have the doc page already in the Dropbox folder,
No, I think
but
it just arrived. Which one? Which
okay.
one is this? Music plot?
Music plot. And I think there are some examples of how it actually looks. Yeah.
You got to ask people whether this is a reasonable.
These are our default plot colors.
Okay, I've got several suggestions here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Excellent.
the aspect ratio. When it's like just one note, you don't want the thing to go, be pulled out like a piece of taffy or something. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
So adaptive
So
aspect ratio
the
depending on the
aspect
input.
ratio should be more like aspect ratio to automatic, and the notes should be a fixed width depending on what size of note they are, unless there are too many notes, in which case it should crush them in.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
The coloring, I think we need to ask people about. I'm not totally certain that's right. It's certainly better
Okay.
than the purple, but I'm not sure it's right.
Okay. Yeah. I just used our default plotting.
Right, but I think it will really help if to have the things be not this ridiculously long, right? It should have a default width that is, I don't know, some modest, but not a square, but just something that's like a little bar that's a 1 to 2.5 aspect ratio or something, I think.
Oh, I see you are talking about the aspect ratio of the notes. I didn't get that. Okay.
Right. So if you fix that at 1 to 2.5, if they don't have to get scrunched, right? But
Yeah.
otherwise, and then you make the aspect ratio automatic relative to that. But if there are too many notes, you scrunch it.
Yeah, I think for any application where there's like more than 2 or 3 measures, that will be necessary. Yeah.
Right. See, that looks a lot nicer when they're thick like that, but that's because you don't have, okay. What other things should I quickly look at, given that I actually now have the documentation and then I have to run off to another meeting?
I don't think much is necessary at this point. Right, we've looked at music note rest, music chord. All of those have been cleaned up a little bit. The mutability mention has been removed. The examples are a bit slightly cleaner. The summary boxes, I'm waiting for assets. Actually, no, you still have an old prototype. You can see how the summary box now displays or tries to display the correct thing. I'm waiting on assets from Billy too for sharps and flats and different kind of.
Why doesn't that? What is that doing? Why isn't that? Isn't there a what's the zero of MIDI? I don't really
Okay, so
remember.
that I think negative numbers get interpreted as intervals because it is kind of unlikely for MIDI notes to go below 0, just because that is about 20 hertz, I think.
Well, but okay, but we're saying so. This what is middle C in MIDI? What's its
60,
number?
I think. 60, if I'm not mistaken.
I see. So I really should have typed 60, 70 or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why did it look like this? Why
Yes,
didn't it
this
look
is
like?
because your prototype is old. Now that actually displays the correct pitches.
Okay, okay, fine.
So that would have shown like about 10 additional notes under the stuff, your previous input, the 510.
Okay.
Um,
Would it have been kind of crazy? You put in the chat, maybe can you put what it looks like just by screen capping?
yes. Um, I'll do 20 just so it's less.
Music transform is missing. Is it music transformation?
Yes, it hasn't been changed. We're leaving the name changes to the end.
Well, it's not that either.
Music transformation should be there. And
Oh
I
yeah, it
would
is.
be
It
very
is. It is. It is.
confused if it isn't. So resume is not letting me send things in chat.
Okay, then send it an email.
Yeah.
This needs a little bit of documentation styling help.
Yes.
This is not kind of how we typically do that, but boy, it's a shame that you can't have this in a functional way. Music transformation and then have join, I mean, it would be much nicer if you could say music transformation, transpose.
There's no reason to not do that, I think.
Well, but don't some of these have parameters? Doesn't transpose have
Yeah,
parameters?
but
Right?
couldn't you have a list in the argument and then
Why
provide
would you
effectively a
want that? I
function?
mean,
Like say music transformation list of transpose comma 2. And then that's a representation of that transformation. I
okay, so
don't
then the
see.
idea would be an operator form like that, together with music transformation of music,
Yeah.
comma that. I like that. I think it's going to be really nice to be able to have a functional
Yeah.
thing where you
I
can
don't
do.
think that's going to pose any issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would document it first. Represents a music transformation, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. That sounds pretty good to me.
Not even obvious that we should support that form.
I need to look at the various other transforms and transformations we have in the
Yes.
system before
Yes. But I
figuring
think
that
this would
out.
be, I think this is really quite nice to be able to do this operator form.
And I really don't see any issue there. Rebecca, do you foresee anything that could be
No.
problematic there?
Okay.
I did send the email with the very low music note.
Okay.
That looks pretty ridiculous. And yeah, we will have a bass clef as well to represent that in a
Yeah,
more
that's what I was
sensible way.
thinking. But still not
But
going to
again,
get you there.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's fine. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. If I load in a complete score of, I mean, do you have examples of this yet? You know, Beethoven's Fifth or something like this.
Yeah, we have some local examples that we have in MIDI and we're working on making that importer a bit more efficient. At the moment, it
Okay.
is a bit bloated.
What happens? I mean, again, not stuff I know, but when you have lyrics in music, do we have a way of encoding that here?
That we will need to stuff probably within Note.
That's pretty horrifying. And you have to tie it over because it's like,
Usually on scores, these are property of notes, as far as I remember.
Rebecca, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, use score you added to the note, but I'm not sure how you indicate that text spans multiple notes.
Well, we'll have
Tied
to.
word. You're singing tie and it goes for 17 measures or something.
I'm trying to see if I can get anything convincing out of this.
All right. Well,
to investigate.
Yes,
For
please.
sure.
This system is looking very nice. People are going to like this. People are going to use this. This is going to be great.
That's what we hope.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Roger, was there any other thing you wanted to make sure was discussed today?
No, I think that
Okay.
this is progressing pretty much at the rate you could hope for. So
Yeah, I like it. It's a good piece of work.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Okay. See
Okay.
ya.